Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Wednesday, December 23rd. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. A dire warning from hospital officials. A surge in coronavirus patients from Thanksgiving is still happening, and more are expected after Christmas and New Year's. Today, San Diego County reported 39 people died from the virus, along with nearly 2,600 new cases. Health officials are predicting 600 more people could die by the end of next month if these trends continue. As KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman tells us, more hospital beds will be opening up soon.
Fearing for what could be coming, officials are activating field hospitals across California, including a 200-bed facility in Escondido. The governor saying if people don't protect themselves this Christmas, we're heading for disaster.
Could be a surge on top of a surge on top of a surge, unless we are cautious and mindful about our travel plans this holiday season and about our proximity to people outside of our households.
County officials say they know it's hard not to see extended family right now, but they're pleading with San Diegans to follow health orders this Christmas.
We're asking you to not gather with them because you love them and because you care about them.
County-run testing sites will be open with limited hours over the holidays, but keep in mind that is only a point-in-time test.
I'm sure many of you are thinking that you've been tested recently and that you are okay, or that you had a plan for a safe gathering. But as we've seen, many of the cases from the recent surge came from people who gathered for Thanksgiving. Getting together for holidays is simply too risky.
Again, the issue is not so much physical beds, but also healthcare workers to staff them. Scripps health officials saying today their Encinitas hospital was at 183% surge capacity in the ICU, and they are starting to ration care, having to postpone some surgeries and moving patients from South Bay hospitals up north.
We're using team nursing. So normally we would operate under staffing ratios, but the state of California has given us waivers because we wouldn't be able to even admit patients if we didn't have the waivers. And we're using a concept called team nursing to expand the use of nurses and support the nurses in their care.
Just before Christmas, there are only around 24 staffed ICU beds available for a county of more than 3 million people.
We know people are hurting out there, and we know they're tired of the pandemic. You know what? We're damn tired of it too. But we're the ones that end up getting those patients that are desperately trying to catch their breath, that end up on a ventilator.
It's unclear when the 200-bed federal field hospital in Escondido will be ready. We know it will be run by Palomar Health, and officials there have previously said once given notice, it could be set up within a week. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
And we have some breaking news. President Trump just issued more pardons, among them former campaign chairman Paul Manafort, Roger Stone, Jared Kushner's father, and Margaret Hunter. Yesterday, the president pardoned 15 people, including former East County Congressman Duncan Hunter. The Republican congressman resigned his seat after pleading guilty to spending more than $200,000 in campaign funds on family vacations, video games, and clothes. Hunter was due to start his 11-month prison sentence next month. Phil Halpern was one of the top prosecutors on the case. Now retired, he says he wasn't surprised by the pardon, saying the president did it out of political interests. With his latest action, 49 people have now been granted pardons, either through clemency or sentence commutations by President Trump in the last 2 days.
Make no mistake about it. This was a fraud case. He stole that money. He embezzled it. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he was doing it to lead a lavish lifestyle that he otherwise couldn't have afforded. I believe every single person in this country thinks that if you steal $200,000 from a position of trust, you should be punished.
Halpern ultimately believes justice was done and that Hunter resigned in disgrace, admitting his guilt after saying for months the investigation was politically motivated. President Donald Trump is asking Congress to make big changes to a massive spending package and the COVID-19 relief plan. One of his biggest gripes is over the $600 payments to Americans. But as Nadia Romero reports, changing the deal now could put the entire bill at jeopardy.
It really is a disgrace.
In a surprise video posted on Twitter, the president slams Congress on the new spending bill and the COVID-19 relief bill, which have been tied together. Out of his many complaints, he wants lawmakers to increase direct payouts to Americans.
I am asking Congress to amend this bill and increase the ridiculously low $600 to $2,000 or $4,000 for a couple.
It's something he and political rival House Speaker Nancy Pelosi actually agree on. Tweeting in part, "At last, the president has agreed to $2,000. Democrats are ready to bring this to the floor this week by unanimous consent." But the spending bill may be more difficult. Some Democrats have already said they oppose the president's demands, arguing Trump should have pushed for these changes before Tuesday night.
So then suddenly he says, no, I don't like this, I don't like that. Well, what we need to do is he needs to sign this bill. And then, of course, we can do additional payments. But it was his own party that was blocking them. Where was he? Where was he hiding out?
The president did not say if he plans to veto the bill. Though the measure had passed with big veto-proof majorities. Republican Congressman Chip Roy wants to rewrite the spending bill and COVID relief plan altogether.
We should go to Washington right now and fix this bill. Make sure that it's not wasting money.
In Washington, Nadia Romero, KPBS News.
President Trump today followed through on his threats and vetoed the annual defense policy bill after lawmakers refused to kill a provision renaming military bases after Confederate generals. The measure, which had bipartisan congressional support, would have given a 3% raise to U.S. troops. It also authorizes $740 billion in military programs and construction. The House and Senate will reconvene next week to consider votes to override the president's veto. As the number of coronavirus cases rise in the county, jails have been no exception. KPBS reporter Max Rivlin-Nadler tells us the ACLU of San Diego is now trying to get answers concerning outbreaks that appear to be overtaking local jails.
COVID-19 has changed daily life in San Diego, shutting down restaurant dining, closing theaters, and limiting capacity in stores. But San Diego jails remain near full, despite several outbreaks at facilities across the county.
The failure to reduce the populations in these jail facilities is really coming home to roost. We've seen numbers spike and balloon in the last 14 days in ways we have not seen in the 9 months previous.
That spike of cases has prompted the ACLU of San Diego and Imperial counties to file a public records request, trying to find out how the Sheriff's Department has handled the COVID-19 pandemic and what measures are being taken to stop the spread. As of Monday, according to the Sheriff's Department, there were 396 active coronavirus cases among inmates and 119 active cases among staff. With just under 4,000 people currently incarcerated in San Diego's 7 jails, that 10% positivity rate, not of those tested, but of the total jail population, points towards a looming disaster, especially with local ICU capacity already hovering near 0%.
And the idea that we are just placing these powder kegs throughout the county that might go off at any minute and overload those systems, that's where we talk about it being dangerous, not only for the people on the inside, which should be enough, but dangerous for the health workers who are working, who are already overtaxed, and dangerous for the community at large, who might need who are going to need those beds as well.
According to statistics obtained by the ACLU, the jail population in San Diego has increased at almost every facility, even as the pandemic has become more severe, and after the state lowered bail amounts for almost all nonviolent offenses to 0. In a statement, the Sheriff's Department told KPBS that it always complies with public records requests, like the one from the ACLU, in the required statutory time frame, and that since the start of the pandemic, the San Diego County Sheriff's Department has been transparent about the strategies it's put in place to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 in its detention facilities. Those strategies include social distancing and mask wearing that have kept COVID numbers low until recently, when the rest of the county has also seen a surge. But for inmates at county jails, if they're one of the hundreds who have gotten sick in recent weeks while in custody, there might not be any care available for them outside of jail, setting up a potentially catastrophic situation. Max Adler, KPBS News.
Coming up, what county coronavirus records obtained by KPBS reveal about outbreaks at local jails and detention centers. The coronavirus is surging, but so is holiday air travel. The TSA says it screened nearly 1 million passengers just yesterday. It was the 5th straight day of numbers near or exceeding 1 million people. At San Diego International Airport, lines started early this morning. Among the travelers, Danny Pham, a Marine who hasn't seen his family for 2 years. He prepared for the trip by quarantining for 2 weeks and making sure he has all the PPE he needs for the flight.
I have double mask, using a lot of hand sanitizer, washing my hands.
Airport officials predict about 22,000 people will pass through San Diego, although air travel is down 73% from the same time last year. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease doctor, is concerned about the number of people ignoring pleas to stay home.
This type of travel is risky, particularly if people start congregating when they get to their destination in larger crowds in indoor settings. I'm afraid that if, in fact, we see this happen, we will have a surge that's superimposed upon the difficult situation we are already in. So it could be a very difficult January coming up if these things happen.
The TSA's record for the pandemic is still held by November 29th. That's the Sunday after Thanksgiving, when more than 1 million people flew. Cruise ships are returning to the port of San Diego this week and through the new year. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayers says cruise lines are reestablishing ships in U.S. waters now in order to resume cruising in a post-pandemic world.
The first of 4 Holland America Line ships arrived this morning. Over the next few weeks, 3 more from that line and 1 from Princess Cruises are scheduled to arrive in San Diego. At this time, none of the vessels will be carrying passengers or conducting any sailings. In an email to KPBS, a Port of San Diego official said, after their initial arrival, each Holland America Line ship will periodically return to the B Street Cruise Terminal to refuel and/or to resupply or receive services. Most of these visits will likely only be for the day as well, though occasionally a ship may be at port longer than 1 day based on operational needs. The ships are coming to San Diego to ensure they are meeting guidelines for safe cruising at a later date. Crew members will not be allowed off the ships unless it's part of crew changes, with plans and procedures reviewed by multiple public agencies. All crew members will be regularly tested for COVID-19, and health procedures will be followed in the event of an infection. In a statement, Holland America Line said, the ships are not operating guest cruises and will be offshore except when they need to come into port for a day-only provision, exchange crew, bunker and receive other services that may be needed. In San Diego, ships will be connected to electrical shore power to reduce engine emissions while in port. Each ship is scheduled to dock at B Street Cruise Terminal the morning of their scheduled arrival date and depart by that same evening. Jacob Ayers, KPBS News.
Today, Governor Gavin Newsom introduced his appointees to the U.S. Senate and California Secretary of State. Alex Padilla said while the focus right now is on the pandemic, he also wants to address more long-term issues as California's first Latino U.S. Senator.
Making sure everybody has access to quality healthcare, making sure that we not only tackle climate change globally, but address environmental justice along the way, and that will make our democracy and our economy more inclusive.
And Dr. Shirley Weber, an assemblywoman from San Diego, will take over Padilla's current role. She says her father instilled in her the importance of the right to vote, and she is honored to protect voting rights in Californians.
I take this responsibility very seriously because it is a serious position, and it has tremendous opportunities for us to continue the legacy that's been established, as California has, in these very difficult times where people are challenging the right to vote, challenging our system itself, and trying to destroy our democracy. That we have to have folks who believe in it. We have to have folks who stand up for it.
Weber's seat in the 79th Assembly District will be filled through a special election. Both Weber and Padilla say they intend to run for full terms in their appointed positions in 2022. Another red flag warning is in effect across Southern California thanks to dry Santa Ana winds. Over 31,000 SDG&E customers have been warned their power could be cut for safety. So far, only 394 customers have been impacted. Mark Mancuso has your forecast.
Critical fire conditions through tonight and into early on Thursday, but during the day Thursday, our Santa Ana winds should start to subside. Looking ahead to Christmas Day, sunshine should be pleasant. And then for early next week, we're looking at a winter storm. Skiers get excited because it looks like there'll be some snow up above 5,500 feet. So around Big Bear Lake, we could get some nice accumulations. Now here's our fire risk through the night and the morning hours. We have these gusty Santa Ana winds, and these winds gusting mostly 40 to 60 miles an hour, but still the vegetation's bone dry. And with that, we do have red flag warnings being issued here all across Southern California, from the mountains right through the valleys and to the coast. Temperatures tonight dropping down to 40 in Oceanside, 50 in San Diego. Ramona not as cool at 45, and El Cajon at 43. Borrego Springs 34, and kind of chilly in Mount Laguna 26. Now for Thursday, still have this weakening system that'll keep the clouds around, and there could be a sprinkle, maybe even a mountain flurry out there, but it looks like the air is just too dry for anything significant happening precipitation-wise. So there you can see just a stray shower there at Mount Laguna, otherwise some clouds around Borrego Springs. Partly sunny Oceanside, El Cajon with a high right around 70 degrees. And again on Friday, there'll be some more clouds nearby, but that'll be with a system passing to our north. So it does look like we'll continue relatively dry into the weekend. But next week, we do have that winter storm coming, so the extended forecast does call for a cool Monday with some showers around. Looking through the inland areas, quite nice on Friday, but much cooler next week. And we see the chances for precipitation on the rise and getting windy, too. That winter storm approaching the mountains, temperatures dropping into the 40s. And as we head to the deserts, showers possible here on Monday with cooler temperatures. And for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
COVID-19 cases are surging in San Diego County jails, prisons, and detention centers. That's according to San Diego County community outbreak records obtained by KPBS. KPBS reporter Claire Tregeser says these numbers underscore that inmates and others held in detention are among the virus's most vulnerable targets.
I don't think you have to be, an expert to understand that, even if people are in separate cells, these settings require people to share facilities like showers or microwaves or recreational space. Just exposes people. It exposes one person to what another person might be carrying, whether that's the flu, the cold, or COVID-19.
Monica Langarita is an immigrants' rights attorney at the ACLU. She's among many who have sounded alarms about how vulnerable people in detention are to COVID-19. In April, the ACLU filed a lawsuit to have at-risk immigrant detainees released from the detention center in Otay Mesa. They won the release of about 100 people, but are still fighting for more.
There's nothing forcing the federal government to detain anybody at Otay Mesa right now. Not one of these people are serving a sentence in connection with contact with the criminal system.
She's right to be worried. County of San Diego outbreak records obtained exclusively by KPBS show there have been more than 460 cases in the Otay Mesa Detention Center, which houses both ICE immigration detainees and prisoners for the U.S. Marshals. An ICE spokeswoman disputed that number, saying a total of just 200 detainees at the Otay Mesa facility have contracted the virus since the pandemic first struck in March. ICE does not report cases among its staff at the facility or U.S. Marshal prisoners. The Otay Mesa cases are among nearly 1,800 reported in jails and detention centers throughout San Diego County from March through December 18th, according to the records KPBS obtained. The records include numbers of cases at individual county jails, which the Sheriff's Department has refused to make public. Jails with the highest case counts are 149 cases at the George Bailey Detention Facility in Otay Mesa, 81 cases at the Vista Detention Facility, 59 cases at the South Bay Detention Facility in Chula Vista, and 43 cases at the downtown San Diego Central Jail.
3 of us were put into a cell together to be put back upstairs.
Jesse Cannon spent 2 days in the sheriff's downtown Central Jail at the beginning of November after being arrested for obstructing a police officer during a protest.
And there was like half-eaten food everywhere. At that point, I had noticed they had given one of the homies a mask, but they hadn't given all of us a mask. I asked for a mask, and they were like, "Oh, well, you're about to bail out."
This is not what's supposed to happen when people arrive at a sheriff's jail, says Lieutenant Kyle Bible, an assistant medical administrator for the department.
Starting with our patrol deputies. Our patrol deputies have masks that are spare in their trunk of their car, that before that contact even occurs at the street level, that arresting officer for the sheriff's department is actually providing a mask to that person in the event that they're coming into our custody. If for whatever reason that exchange never happened, before that arrestee even gets out of the car to start our booking process, our staff who are completely equipped in PPE will go out, and as part of their assessment, if that arrestee does not have a mask, one is provided to them.
In addition, he says holding cells are supposed to be cleaned after each new person is brought in, and new prisoners are tested for COVID-19 within hours of being brought into booking. Yet, even with these protocols, cases have surged at local jails. The KPBS records show more than 600 cases in county jails as of December 18th. Bible confirmed there had been outbreaks at individual jails and says one outbreak was caused when an inmate was moved from the George Bailey Detention Facility to the Vista Detention Facility.
The source of that outbreak is unknown. We did a very thorough contact tracing. And it was determined that the spread was a result of somebody that was asymptomatic. And that is what's so challenging in tracking this disease is you could have COVID-19 and bypass, a symptom review or a thermometer check.
Meanwhile, families of incarcerated people desperately search for information.
People will let us know that they have had outbreaks of COVID.
Layla Aziz, a criminal justice advocate at the nonprofit Pillars of the Community, says the lack of information leads to more mistrust of law enforcement in the community.
Families would be able to keep track of their loved ones. If we had transparency, we were able to a rapid response, a risk mitigation, something that should be built into our system. We were able to see we could stop the spread.
Claire Tregesser, KPBS News.
And you can go to kpbs.org/outbreaks to see a map and searchable database of community outbreaks in the county. KPBS investigative assistant Katie Stiegel contributed to this report. The pandemic is upending family life throughout San Diego. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh says no one has seen their lives clamped down as much as a single mom in the Navy.
Specialist First Class Letitia Martinez is stationed aboard the USS Jackson. She's also a single mom, so reporting to duty means making sure her 9-year-old son is ready to report for daycare.
So I wake up at 4 o'clock, get ready, then I wake him up at 5:15 and get him ready to go to daycare.
Like any sailor based out of Naval Base San Diego, right now, Navy life for her and her son Rocco comes with a list of restrictions.
It's a bit difficult trying to find ways to entertain my son and stay within the guidance.
And because you have to follow him.
He has to follow him. Yeah, right now he's a little shaggy little boy because I can't get him a haircut.
Even as local businesses in the community close and reopen, for Martinez, the restrictions have never been optional. as the Navy tries to limit the spread of COVID-19. So for most of the year, it's been carry-out only.
No museums, no zoos. Basically, it's anywhere pertinent, like if you need to get your vehicle fixed or going to daycare, groceries, stuff like that.
For Rocco, no playing with friends around the neighborhood. The USS Jackson is one of several littoral combat ships in San Diego. Right now, Martinez is only going out to sea in short bursts, though she's on duty for 24 hours every third day. Then, right back to duty at home.
I mean, it can be very tough at times and a little stressful because with 3-section duty and working and school and everything, it's kind of hard to find time to decompress. So at times you're like, oh, but like at the end of the day, when you're just sitting on the couch watching TV with them and watching movies and hearing them laugh at all the comedies, I mean, it's worth it.
All to balance parenting, COVID, and the Navy. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
And here's another look at today's top stories. President Trump issued another wave of pardons, including Margaret Hunter. She is the ex-wife of Congressman Duncan Hunter, who the president pardoned yesterday. 49 people have been granted pardons through clemency or sentence commutations by President Trump in the last 2 days. Also today, San Diego County reported 39 people died from the coronavirus, along with nearly 2,600 new cases. Health officials are predicting 600 more people could die by the end of next month if these trends continue. To keep up with the surge in patients, field hospitals are being activated across the state, including a 200-bed facility in Escondido. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.